Hello, it's Jack Bannister here, Head of Sixth Form at Waldegrave School, with the first in a short series of video presentations designed for current applicants to the Sixth Form with a view to starting in September 2021. The focus of this first presentation is going to be on supporting students with making their A-level subject choices, which can seem like a really daunting and significant decision. And the other two videos in the series will be focused on what we mean when we give out conditional offers and an overview of our arrangements for enrolment in the summer holidays. The collective purpose of these three videos is to hopefully try to alleviate some of the anxiety that students and their families might have as they make these decisions about their post-16 options, and also to ensure that all applicants to our sixth form have been given access to really high quality, impartial information, advice and guidance that can inform their decision making. So without further ado, as I've mentioned, the focus of this particular presentation is making A-level subject choices, and the key question we're going to be trying to answer is how should you make your A-level subject choices? So the first thing to understand is how many A-levels students study with us. And the simple answer is that the vast majority of students study 3 subjects at A-levels, or 3 whole A-level qualifications. And there's a couple of reasons why we have settled on that number. That, generally speaking, is the number that most sixth forms across the country have students study. There is a big step up from GCSE to A-level, both in terms of the complexity of the work and also the onus on students to be working independently outside of lessons. And taking 3 is a manageable workload. It gives students the best chance to effectively balance that workload with their emotional well-being and at the same time maximize their academic potential. Taking more than 3 is an added workload that can make that balance more difficult to achieve. 3 A-levels is also the typical means of offer that universities give out. So sometimes universities will make their offers as a UCAS points total, and sometimes they will make their offer as a set of 3 A-level grades. No university is able to set conditions on their offers that ask for more than 3 A-levels, and that includes Oxford and Cambridge as well. So in addition to helping students balance their workload, 3 A-levels is really all you need in order to access any university in the UK. So our position really is that the best course of action for students, regardless of their aspirations, is to try and maximise their outcomes across 3 A-levels rather than stretching themselves more thinly across 4. So to give you a more specific example, it would be better to get 3 A-levels with an A grade in each than it would be to get 4 A-levels with 2 A's and 2 B's. In order to open up as many university opportunities as possible, you really want to try and get the highest grade tariff across 3 subjects. However, we do understand that curriculum needs to be tailored to individual context, to the unique needs and aspirations of each student. And so there are certain situations where we do allow students to study 4 A-levels, and these are outlined here in this box to the right of the slide. So it's quite common to study 4 A-levels if students are taking further maths as one of those 4. So further maths is an A-level in its own right. It's got the same value as any other A-level qualification. And in order to take further maths, you also have to be taking the conventional maths A-level. Although they are 2 distinct qualifications, there is a significant overlap in terms of content and skills between maths and further maths. And so it is more manageable in terms of workload to be taking a 4th one on top of that. Another scenario where it's common to take 4 A-levels is if you are a native speaker of a language. So every year we do have a significant minority of students who speak a different language in the home, or are bilingual, or have a parent who's speaking to them in a different language. And if you are a native speaker of the language, clearly your oral skills are going to be significantly beyond those of the average student. And so again, it makes the workload of taking that language as a fourth A-level more manageable. A third scenario is if you are a particularly talented musician. We have a fantastic music department at Waldegrave, and if you are already playing or singing to a very high standard and have the appropriate qualifications to certify that outside of school, then again, those practical skills give you a slight edge. They help to make the workload of A-level music more manageable, and so you may wish to study music as your fourth A-level. And the final scenario is a much more general one. Sometimes when students have particularly high GCSE results across the board, again, we may allow you to study 4 A-levels. And the idea there is that students with very high GCSE results across the board, we know it can be difficult to narrow down your options at A-level to just 3 subjects, but also it would suggest that you have a level of prior attainment, knowledge and skills from GCSE that would enable you to make that transition to A-level a little bit more smoothly and manage the increased workload of studying for A-levels. The important thing to remember if you are considering studying for A-levels is that this doesn't need to be decided now. In actual fact, as part of our enrolment process in the summer, every student enrolling with us will have an information, advice and guidance meeting with a member of staff from the school, and that's where final decisions will be made about courses, and there will be the opportunity there to consider either which 3 A-levels you want to study or whether you'd like to consider the possibility of doing 4. The final point to make here is that if you do enroll to study 4, our expectation is that you will carry on with that the whole way through both year 12 and 13. There are some circumstances where that may not end up being the case, but the intention at the outset at least has to be continuing for the 2 years. These are the courses that are available at Waldegrave. So we are an A-level provider. So all of these are A-level courses, and many of them will be subjects that are familiar to students from GCSE. So you've got things like geography, history, English, maths, and so on. We are big supporters of a diverse curriculum, and that includes the creative and performing arts. So you can see there we've got subjects like art, drama, photography, music, and so on. There are also some subjects that are new for A-level that students won't necessarily have had the chance to study at GCSE. So that would include the social sciences, sociology and psychology, media studies, photography, and economics. For each of our courses, there are entry requirements, and for our sixth form as a whole, there are certain admissions criteria that need to be met. So we enroll approximately 180 students per year. We are a co-educational sixth form, meaning that we have both girls and boys. In order to enroll on any of our courses, students need to have met the minimum entry requirements for the sixth form as a whole, which is 5 GCSEs grades 4 to 9, including English language and maths. And then there are individual entry requirements for the particular A-level courses, which I will show you in due course. We do have an oversubscription criteria, which is published on our website, and that goes into significant detail about how we manage a scenario where we have more applicants wishing to enroll with us than we do places available. So these are the entry requirements for the individual courses. The general rule of thumb is that if the subject has been available to students at GCSE, that we would expect them to have taken it and achieved a minimum of a grade 6. So you can see that's the scenario for most of the subjects there. English, the sciences, geography, history, RS, the languages, art, fashion and textiles, and so on. For the subjects that are new at A-level, clearly students haven't had the opportunity to produce a GCSE grade in those subjects, and so the entry requirements are slightly different, and instead we ask for 5s in English and maths. So that's applicable to sociology, psychology, and economics. There are then, and then for media studies, the 5 in maths isn't required, but instead you need 5s in both English literature and English language. There are then some sort of individual entry requirements that are unique to particular subjects. So for music, as well as having the grade 6 at Music GCSE, you also need to be proficient in an instrument up to a grade 5 standard. To study physics, you need to be taking A-level maths as one of your choices alongside physics. And then maths and further maths have slightly different entry requirements. To study maths at A-level with us, you need to have achieved a minimum of a grade 7 at GCSE, and to study further maths, a minimum of a grade 8 in maths at GCSE. And that's a reflection of the significant incline of difficulty in maths from GCSE to A-level. So these are minimum entry requirements, and all students have to do in order to study the subject at A-level is meet the minimum entry requirement. All students who meet the minimum entry requirement are treated the same. So getting a grade that's significantly higher than the entry requirement doesn't alter the chances of getting onto a course or anything like that. We are a comprehensive sixth form, and the purpose of these entry requirements isn't to allow us to sort of cherry pick the students with the highest level of prior attainment. Rather, these entry requirements are there to protect students. So most A-level courses make the assumption that students will have a certain level of prior knowledge and skills from GCSE, which are then built on in the A-level courses. And if a student hasn't met these minimum entry requirements, that would suggest that they are going to find that transition to studying the subject at A-level extremely challenging, and may in fact lack the prior knowledge and skills to be successful at A-level. So these entry requirements are really there in order to ensure that students are making sensible decisions about the A-level courses they enroll to study, and are picking things that they are likely to be successful at. One of the questions that we've had a number of times already from applicants and their families this year is whether we will be flexible with the entry requirements in light of the alternative arrangements in place for exams this year. And the answer to that is that we very much do acknowledge the huge amount of disruption that students have had to put up with this year in terms of their education, and indeed last year. However, the arrangements that have been put in place for the issuing of GCSE grades this summer are already designed to take account of that disruption and mitigate for it. And therefore, we are going to stick to our entry requirements for the reason that I've already outlined in terms of ensuring students make sensible decisions. So we will not be flexible with the entry requirements, because the grading process itself for issuing the GCSE grades already has that flexibility built in to look after students. In terms of making subject choices, this is one of the things that applicants often struggle the most with. It feels like a really big, significant decision. One consideration that students might have to help them choose is to think about whether there's anything they would like to study at university or to pursue as a career afterwards. And if that is the case, then it's a good idea to research which A-levels may be required to follow that chosen pathway. So for example, if you are very much set on studying medicine after sixth form and becoming a doctor, then it would be really essential for you to study chemistry at A-level, because pretty much all universities would demand chemistry A-level in order to study medicine with them. It may also be advisable to study biology, because some universities would require that for their medicine courses, although not all. But the third subject would be, it would be more important that you're trying to get the highest possible grade there, rather than needing to do a very particular subject. So it's really important that if you do have an idea of what you want to do beyond sixth form, that you go online and that you research that to make sure that you're selecting the right subjects to kind of set you on that path that you want to go down. However, it's also really important not to make assumptions about the A-levels that you may or may not need to do. So one of the really big assumptions that we see all the time that is actually a misconception is that in order to study medicine at university, you would absolutely have to take A-level biology. And that's not necessarily the case. As I've already said, chemistry is actually the more essential of the two subjects, and biology would only be required by some universities if you wanted to study medicine. So it's really important, if you have that kind of university course or career path in mind, to make your A-level decisions based on really good research of what might be required. Having said that, there are lots and lots of university courses and careers that are not very prescriptive in terms of what they need you to have at A-level. And equally, there are many, many students, in fact, I would say the overwhelming majority, who don't yet know what they want to do beyond sixth form. And that's absolutely fine. That's totally normal. And often it takes students the course of year 12 and some of year 13 to kind of research their options and make that decision. So if you're really not sure what you want to do beyond sixth form, then the best advice when picking your subjects is to consider the ones that you enjoy the most and have the best chance of academic success at. And if you pick your subjects on the basis of what you're good at and what you enjoy at A-level, you will end up with options open to you beyond sixth form that you also are going to be good at and will enjoy. And that's really important. So those are the sort of considerations in terms of making subject choices. I've already alluded to the fact that often students feel a great sense of pressure when making those subject choices. And I want to try and take away some of that pressure here now. So students have already expressed an interest in the subjects they would like to study on their initial applications. We use that information to help us with our planning. So it helps us with timetabling the subjects that are most popular, we have the most classes for, and so on. And we are also using that information about subject preferences to make sure that we're able to give students appropriate information, advice, and guidance. However, the preferences expressed on the application are by no means final decisions. And in fact, students don't have to make a final decision about the A-levels they would like to study until enrolment day in the summer holidays. And in fact, it's very, very common for students to either be in a quandary when they arrive at enrolment and to need to have a discussion with a member of staff to consider their options. And it's also very common for students to just totally change their mind at enrolment and end up studying subjects that they didn't put on their initial application at all. And that's absolutely fine. That's just a natural product of the passage of time. Also at enrolment, students have their final GCSE grades, and so it's easier to make that judgment on what subjects they are best at. And that is precisely why we make sure that as part of our enrolment arrangements, every single student with a member of their family, parent or carer, is able to sit down with a member of staff and have a really good discussion about the subjects they would like to study before making a final commitment. So no pressure to be making absolute decisions at the moment. All I would say is be thinking about it. So in terms of finding more information about subject choices, we have produced a series of video presentations introducing the A-level subjects on offer. Those were originally made for the current Year 12 students when they were in this position last year, but the information is still absolutely correct, relevant, and useful. So you can follow the link there, or you can simply type Waldegrave into YouTube and go to the school's official YouTube channel, and you will be able to find a playlist of all our videos introducing students to A-level. So I would really encourage students to watch any of the videos for the subjects that they're either certain about or thinking about. Another really useful website is the Informed Choices website. That's not something that we run. That is a website that is set up and run by universities, particularly the Russell Group universities, and it is designed with the primary function of supporting students in making sensible decisions about the courses they would like to study. So if you go onto the Informed Choices website, it gives you the option of either saying you know what you want to study at university or you don't know what you want to study. If you do know what you want to study and you click that option, you can then select the specific sort of degree program you're interested in, and it will give you bespoke advice about the types of A-level subjects that would help to guide you down that path. Okay, so that's a really, really useful resource for addressing misconceptions people might have around subject choice and ensuring that you're picking the right things to set you up for what you want to do after sixth form. And in fact, that Informed Choices website has replaced the thought processes and the language that Russell Group universities formerly used, where they used terms like facilitating subjects. That system was considered to be unhelpful for both the universities and for students, and insufficiently nuanced. So the Informed Choices website there does have that nuance built into it and is a great resource for giving you really accurate, meaningful advice on the subjects that you might want to consider studying to pursue a particular path after sixth form. So that's really all of the information from me on subject choices. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email them into sixthform@waldegravesch.org, and we will respond in the most appropriate way, either in writing through return email or in the form of a telephone call. Thank you very much for listening. I would encourage you to go on to the next 2 videos in the series, which are about conditional offers and the enrolment arrangements for summer. Thank you very much.